Are we live? Yes.
We're live.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and happy to be in this beautiful environment at the ZuCot Gallery. It is a lovely, lovely, lovely facility. Again, my name is Tabitha Johnson Green. I'm a Democratic pro-choice woman running to represent Georgia's 10th Congressional District. I was born and raised in Washington County, Georgia. Washington County is known as the kaolin capital of the world. An interesting fun fact about Washington County is in the early 1980s, Queen Elizabeth and Princess Di visited Washington County. They were just a few miles down the road from my home. The British royal family owned one of our kaolin mines there. So kaolin is the biggest industry for our county, and we're world famous for it. I entered politics for the same reason that I became a nurse, so that I can help people on a larger scale. I considered waiting until my youngest child graduated from high school before running for public office again. But when I looked at the state of our world, mass incarceration of our youth, poverty, police violence, and intolerance of other races/cultures, I could not wait. I could not wait until another innocent person died at the hands of racism or another patient lost their life due to lack of access to health care. The future of our children depend on it. I am determined to make a better life and protect the voting rights of the people of Georgia. I'm also determined to help save our democracy. I'm dedicated to enriching the lives of others, regardless of race, education, or socioeconomic level. I'm determined to make a positive change in the laws that govern our everyday lives and circumstances. You can depend on me to vote no to things that will hurt hardworking people and take food off our plates. My platforms, first and foremost, are protection of our rights as voters. Our vote is our voice. I fully support the passage of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Healthcare reform. We all deserve access to quality, affordable health care in our own communities. Rural hospitals are closing at an alarming rate. An Atlanta area hospital has closed with another Atlanta area hospital, Atlanta Medical, expected to close on November 1st of this year. And reproductive rights. I am very pro-choice. I believe that it's a woman's right to choose. The government should not legislate what we do with our own bodies. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Tabitha, just to give you some context, the Indian Child Welfare Act was enacted in 1978, and it really was in response to the crisis that was affecting American Indian and Alaskan Native children, their families, and their tribal nations. According to studies, it revealed that there were a large number of Native children that were being separated from their parents, extended families, or communities by state child welfare and private adoption agencies. In fact, research found that 25 to 35% of all Native children were being removed, and of these, 85% were placed outside of the families and communities, even when fit and willing relatives were available. And it was critically needed, the Indian Child Welfare Act, and it was crafted to address some of the most longstanding and egregious removal practices, specifically targeting Native children. And because of those added protections, not only address specific systems abuses directed at Native children, but it also identified our unique political status and cultural considerations. And by all standards, the Indian Child Welfare Act has been labeled the gold standard of child welfare policy by experts and national leading children advocacy organizations far beyond Indian country. So right now, Tabitha, there is a case pending before the Supreme Court that will challenge the Indian Child Welfare Act. Should the unthinkable happen and Indian Child Welfare Act is found to be invalid, there would be far-reaching consequences that would be felt for generations, namely weakening protections for Native children, and thus clearing the way for bad actors to take their control of our Native land, Native industry, and our Native futures, and most certainly our Native children. So my question to you is, would you consider introducing or co-sponsoring legislation to correct what would be a grave error by the court?
travesties that are occurring in the Native American community. Every child deserves to be raised in an environment that is conducive to their language and their cultural beliefs. When elected, I will do my best to actively support Native American families. I will encourage caseworkers to identify placement that fits under the Indian Child Welfare Act and encourage them to keep families together. I will encourage caseworkers to notify the child's tribe and the child's parent of the child's custody proceedings, and also help the child's tribe and parents in all proceedings pertaining to said child.
Thank you.
And hello, and nice to meet you. Again, in the way of some background, the Violence Against Women Act creates and supports comprehensive, cost-effective responses to domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. Since its enactment in 1994, VAWA programs administered by the United States Department of Justice and Health and Human Services have dramatically improved federal, state, and local responses to these crimes. The VAWA Reauthorization Act of 2022 was included in the fiscal year 2022 omnibus spending package signed by President Joseph Biden on March 15th of this year, 2022. This bipartisan VAWA reauthorization includes groundbreaking provisions to strengthen and modernize the law. The law provides survivors the thousands of local programs that serve them, the communities with much needed resources for housing, legal assistance, alternatives to criminal responses, and prevention programming. It also includes new economic justice provisions and bolsters access for survivors of all genders by strengthening non-discrimination laws and creating an LGBTQ services program. The law also restores tribal jurisdiction, allowing tribes to hold non-native perpetrators accountable, improves existing housing protections, and increases access to emergency and short-term housing, and creates dedicated investments to culturally specific service providers to ensure survivors of color are supported. The economic impacts of COVID-19 pandemics have greatly impacted survivors and only exacerbated the existing inequalities in our society. Additional funding and resources are needed as Congress considers funding levels in the fiscal year 2023 appropriations legislation. So my question, Tabitha, to you is, do you believe that these life-saving services should be prioritized and federal funding used to address and prevent domestic violence?
Yes, the Violence Against Women Act should be prioritized and fully funded to address and prevent domestic violence. According to a study by the National Institute of Justice, violence against women, including domestic violence and sexual assault, is higher among Native American communities. To end domestic violence in all its forms, we must understand the historical context of why it exists in the Native American communities today. We must start by examining the history of oppression that laid the groundwork for the rise of violence against women. Then take available action steps to prevent it by providing resources including counseling and family assistance for males and females alike.
Okay, thank you. This next question involves the Help America Vote Act. The Help America Vote Act of 2002 was passed by the United States Congress to make sweeping reforms to the nation's voting process. HAVA addresses improvements to voting systems and voter access that were identified following the 2000 election. One of the provisions within the Help America Vote Act allows for the use of the funds to be used to improve voter engagement. And in the state of South Dakota, the Help America Vote Act is used to help counties pay for early in-person satellite offices and can be used for drop ballot boxes. If elected, how would you support the funding of the Help America Vote Act?
I would support the funding of the Help America Vote Act. Everyone deserves free and unhindered access to the ballot box. Our vote is our voice. In 2020, I organized a rally in my hometown in support of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. The event was well attended, and the general consensus was our right to vote is sacred and should be protected.
Well, we we certainly thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we appreciate your advocacy on behalf of your community, and we wish you well in the elections.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. I just want to leave you with this one last statement. Our democracy is under attack right now. Join me in helping to save our democracy by visiting and donating to our site at www.tabithaforcongress.com. Together, we really can bring about a change in our state, our community, and our world. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Thank you.